this is the tool. This is News Consumer Insights. And in a nutshell, News Consumer Insight 3.0 is a 360 reporting assistant, growth assistant that delivers personalized AI recommendations. So essentially what you're going to do with News Consumer Insight is you're going to plug different products. So Google Analytics, Search Console, Ad Manager, and AdSense accounts. And through those connections, you're going to get a 360 view of your organization performance into one solution. So more importantly, you'll be accessing personalized and actionable recommendation just for your needs. So essentially, NCI provides reports, insights, and recommendations supporting your key publisher objectives. So audience, we're going to help you deeper relationship with your readers. Business, we're going to help you maximize both your advertising and reader revenue, so subscription or contribution. Content, we want to help your journalist and your editorial team with cool editorial reports. So I'll deep dive on this specifically. And finally, website. The goal here is to give you a technical diagnostic to give you website performance analysis on different topics such as page speed, core web vitals, your SEO, accessibility of your site. So a lot of cool insights there. The last slide, I believe, of this presentation is more about accessibility of the tool. So again, News Consumer Insight is free of cost. You can use it for free as of today. All you need is a GA4 account. So you need to have Google Analytics 4 to use it. That's it. You just need to connect at least Google Analytics to make the use of the tool. Finally, in terms of onboarding, it's pretty fast. I will invite you to do it actually while we are talking. It takes less than 2 minutes to go through the onboarding process. There are actually only almost 2 steps to go through. So pretty fast to onboard and pretty fast to access the tool. Now, those were just intro slides, and I believe it's more interesting for you all to see the tool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the tool directly. I'm going to do a live demo of our product and show you how you should be using the tool with your teams and hopefully get a good grasp of what I'm talking about. Yes, so this is NCI. This is the home page of News Consumer Insight, and thank you for linking the tool. You can access the tool in the comments. There is direct link to the tool there. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a news organization. I've just been through the onboarding process. I've connected my different Google accounts, my Google Analytics account, my Search Console account, my Google Ad Manager account, and this is what I'm seeing. So again, you're looking at the overview page. The overview page is almost like the control room. That's where you see all your key performance indicator for your different topics. So you remember we talk about audience, we talk about content, we talk about business and websites. So here you will find all the key information for those topics. So for example, for content, you will see essentially, obviously, your key metrics from a user point of view, like readers, visits, and page views over the last 30 days. You can change the time frame here. And if you scroll down, you will see your top 5 articles during that period. So automatically, we'll pull the title of those articles, the image of the article, and obviously the page views you generated during this period. If you scroll down for this module, you will find your article performance overall. So you will see essentially your content ROI, which is an indicator of how many page views on average you generate per article. You will see your publication frequency. So essentially how many articles you've published in the last 30 days during that time period. You will also see your pace. essentially if you're driving a lot of visits compared during the period versus the previous period. And finally, the type of users you've engaged with. You will start noticing in those modules and throughout the tool those insight sections. So automatically what we're going to do is we're going to populate some insights based on the data from your site, personalized for your site. So this is the content module from the home page, very high level, but already interesting to check. Now, this is the audience volume on the right. For the audience module, it's all about audience. It's all about audience development. So what we like to do here is we like to introduce the concept of audience development with a funnel. So you're looking at a funnel here. We use a triangle, and for the funnel, we use different audience segments. So casual readers, loyal readers, and email readers. Very quickly in the tool, a casual reader is a user who has been once on the site during the period. A loyal reader is users who have been more than twice on the site over the last 30 days. And finally, email readers are users who are coming from newsletters. So this is how we do a very basic segmentation of your site. We automatically pull users into those buckets. And we believe that through this funnel, you will understand already you will get already a lot of insights. Obviously, you already have a funnel on your side. I'm sure we're not here to replace it. It's a complementary funnel. Now, the cool thing about this funnel compared to our previous tool is you can customize it. You can add a fourth segment. So if you have your own audience in GA4, you can upload this segment into the funnel and see how this segment is performing compared to others. So the way this funnel works is on the left-hand side, you will see essentially the percentage of readers for this audience. And on the right-hand side, the percentage of page views they generate on the site. So let's take the example of casual readers. Casual readers, they are representing 82% of the total traffic, and they generate 44% of the page views. So for this publisher, and by the way, everything is demo data here. It's not a real publisher, so sometimes the data will look weird. Don't pay too much attention. It's just demo data to show you the tool. For this fake publisher, we have 82% of their audience generating 40% of their page views. So most of the time, those users, they come and they go, and that's why they don't generate that many page views. When you start going down the funnel, when you look at loyal readers and email readers, that's where the value is. That's where most of the page views are generated. I will come back to this, but this is the kind of cool insights and information you can get out of this module. Now, if you scroll down, we have that business module. And for us, business is all about advertising and reader revenue. So you might just have advertising on your site, or you might have advertising and a reader revenue model, such as subscription or contribution. So what we'll do here is we will have on the left-hand side an advertising pie chart. This is the data you will be pulling from Google Ad Manager. So once you connect your Google Ad Manager account, automatically we will show you very quickly the percentage of revenue you generate from your direct ads, from your third-party ads, so essentially everything outside Google, and then Google, so AdSense or Ad Exchange. So this is a nice way to just look at a very high-level overview of your advertising channels and how you're performing, right, compared to the last period. Now, on the right-hand side, that's when you start plugging your subscription data or your contribution data. You will see essentially the number of conversions during the period, so the number of new subscription or the number of new contributions. And as we all know, when we talk about subscription or contribution, it's important to also look at other things that are driving also subscription or contribution in the long term. I'm talking about newsletter, for example. When you drive newsletter signups, you drive in a longer term subscription or contribution because those users are likely to subscribe to the site in the longer term or to contribute in the longer term. Same for registered users. Now, the last module, website. So this is where essentially you will have a very simple diagnostic of your site. So will tell you essentially if you are passing or failing at the Core Web Vitals. For those of you who don't know, who are not familiar with Core Web Vitals, I'll come back to this, but essentially it's a way for publishers to see if they provide good user experience to their users from a stability, loading, and interactive point of view. So if your site is loading quickly, if your site is interactive quickly and is stable to the users, you will pass Core Web Vitals. Otherwise, you will have some work to do. Now, we also evaluate your page speed. So we give you a score there. Same for your SEO and same for your accessibility. So this is, as you can see, a 360 view of your organization. We look at content, we look at your audience, we look at your business, and we look at your website overall. Now, it's very high level, and it gets interesting when you start clicking on those modules. And the same way will work with those navigation bar. So if you start, for example, clicking on audience, you will be driven to this audience report. So a more specific report, more granular just for your site. So for example, for audience, you will see different modules. You remember we've talked about that funnel, so the same funnel appears here. By the way, I haven't mentioned, but we're going to give you a score per module. So here for that publisher is 35. So it looks like out of 100, they have a 35, and yes, so there is room to grow and things to do on the audience development side. Now, let's take a look at this audience report. So compared to the previous version, what we try to do is bring more like a graph showing you the evolution of those different metrics. In this case, for audience, you will see essentially the evolution of your readers over time, right? So for the last 30 days, so week after week, you will see how many users you get in each bucket and the total number of page views you've generated. So it's a nice overview of like the trend on your site. If you change the timeline, you will obviously change the graph below. If you scroll down, this is where you will get a better understanding of your funnel. So you will see essentially the profile of your casual reader from a reader persona point of view and from a reader behavior point of view. So for example, casual readers, those are users for that publisher who are on average male, 25 to 35 years old. They are coming from mobile and organic, and they are based in the US and in Seattle in particular. This is just a very simple profiling of audiences. We do the same for the different audiences from the funnel. And this is nice because here, just by looking at the profile of those different audiences, you will be able to compare and obviously drive some insights and some ideas of what's going on. So most of the time, when you look at this graph, when you look at this report, when you go down the funnel, you will see essentially an evolution of this profile. So your casual users might be mostly coming from mobile when they just casually come to your site. But when they start engaging a bit more, when they become email users, that's when they become potentially more heavy on desktop. They start using their laptop. So there's interesting insights there. If you scroll down, you will see per bucket as well the level of engagement for those different segments. So visit per reader, pages per visit time, and total pages consumed per users. It's interesting to see this because just by looking at this, you will see how engaged those users are when you start going down the funnel. So how many the level of pages they consume per users. You will be surprised how many page views they're actually consuming, those email users in particular. So it's also an interesting piece of information. Now on the right-hand side, that's where we start comparing your data with the industry. So we have access to a lot of publication, news organization analytics accounts, and they give us their authorization to use their data into benchmark. So we are able to essentially give you a comparison of your level of engagement versus the engagement from other news organizations. So we can tell you essentially if you need to focus on engagement overall, and essentially if you need to improve visit frequency or visit depth. So we ask you the simple question, are your loyal readers visiting your site often enough? Essentially, are they coming back to your site, if often on your site, compared to other users from the industry on other sites? So we can show you essentially your data versus the industry per device. And we can do the same for the visit depth. So if the number of articles consumed per visit on your site, on mobile and desktop versus the industry. And this gives you an idea of like if you need to get your users to come back more often on a specific device, or if you need to get users to consume more articles per visit, again, per device. Now, if you scroll down, this is where you will see traffic sources graph. Essentially, on that graph, what we're going to do is we're going to segment your audience based on the traffic sources. So you will see on the x-axis the percentage of traffic for those traffic sources. So essentially, on the right-hand side, you will see your top traffic sources in terms of volume, in terms of users. And then on the y-axis is the pages per reader. And for us, pages per reader is a great indicator of value. So essentially, if you get a lot of pages per reader for a traffic source, it means that that traffic source is valuable. It generates a lot of pages per reader, and you will get a lot if you start investing in that traffic source. So usually when you see at the top of the screen here, those who have a lot of pages per reader are usually newsletters or web push notification users or direct traffic users because they come to the site a lot and they're consuming a lot of pages. So now in this graph, what you will see is essentially in that green corner, that's essentially the traffic sources you need to grow because they are very valuable. The more users you get from those traffic sources, the better. So the more newsletter users you get on your site, the better because they bring a lot of value. On the right-hand side, usually you will find organic search, so Google, and they are valuable because there's a lot, but technically they don't consume enough pages per user. So that's where essentially you need to optimize their experience, their UX. You need to make sure that your site is fast, that your site is easy to digest, stable, and so on. I just saw a very quick question in the chat. What is dark traffic? So dark traffic in the tool is essentially, we have a bubble here. Those are users in analytics that are coming directly to your site, but they are not coming to your that they are not coming to your homepage. So that means that they come to your articles most of the time. So if they go directly to your articles, that means that it's not direct traffic. It's essentially, those are not people typing in the URL in their browser for your articles. Those are users who are usually coming from social messaging apps or potentially who are coming from Google Discover. Most of the time, those are users that Google Analytics doesn't know where they're coming from, but there is a strong assumption that it's coming from Discover or social messaging apps like WhatsApp and things like that. Yes, exactly. WhatsApp shares or other messaging apps. So if you scroll down, what we're going to do is we're going to give you more information on your Google traffic. So if you have connected your Search Console account, we're going to pull data from your Search Console account here, and we're going to try to give you a digested version of what's going on from Google. So you will see here the percentage of impressions you get per traffic source. So Google Search versus Google News versus Google Discover. So essentially how many times you've appeared on those platforms and also how many times you got clicks from those platforms, again, during that time period. And again, you will see the evolution of your traffic over time. So it's already interesting because you might realize that not all your users are coming from Google search. They might be coming from news or Discover as well. And if you scroll down, if you scroll down, you will see essentially an explanation of each platform. So Google Search versus Google Search Results News tab, because those are not the same. And then you will see Google Discover, like what is Google Discover and what is Google News. All right, so we just saw the audience report. With the audience report, we hope that you will have a lot of information about your audience and you'll be able to start understanding what's going on, or you will start understanding what you should be prioritizing on your site. As I've mentioned earlier in this presentation, NCI, it's about insights, data insights, but also recommendations. So if you actually go to that page, you will notice that essentially you might want to grow newsletter traffic. So to do that, you will need to go to our recommendation page, right at the top of the screen. And when you click on recommendations, that's where you will find essentially all the recommendations that are personalized for you. NCI is built on top of a decision engine that automatically surfaces specific recommendation for your site based on your data. So we are able to populate specific recommendation to grow your audience, to grow your business, so to grow your advertising or reader revenue, and to optimize your website. When you start clicking on those recommendations, you will see you will access those recommendations. So for example, let's take the one for newsletter. We saw in the audience report that potentially it would be interesting to grow this specific channel. So I'm going to click here and you will see two sub recommendations. One is about optimizing newsletter signups, and the other one is to optimize newsletter distribution. Both are important if you want to grow your newsletter channel. So I'm going to click on the first one. How do you get users to sign up to your newsletters? How do you essentially grow your newsletter base? So here is the recommendation. So you're looking at a classic example of structure of our recommendation. At the top of the page, you will have essentially our keys to success, our best practices, our tactics to improve that specific topic. So for newsletter, what we recommend is essentially you need to have a simple newsletter process, like with only one field to sign up to your site, to your newsletter. It needs to be quick. So you need to have the autofill on. You need to make sure that that newsletter sign up is visible and it contrasts with the rest of the site. So the colors of the background, the color of the button, everything needs to be optimized there. Finally, it needs to be original. So you need to be creative in the headline. So when you ask users to sign up to newsletters, don't just say sign up to our newsletter. Try to explain why they should sign up to your newsletters. What's the value proposition there? Why, like, what they're gonna get if they sign up to your newsletters? And try to obviously rotate and change the headlines as often as possible to avoid the similar experience every time users will go to your site. So when you scroll down, that's where it gets even more interesting. What we do is we try to recreate the experience of your site. So we'll try to pull your publisher logo here. We pull an article title from your site, an image, the image of your article, and we're going to try to show you the ideal experience for this topic. So for example, here for newsletter, we're going to show you an example of newsletter sign up that you should potentially copy or try to adapt for your site. So this is a newsletter sign up that you can configure on your site. You see there is a bit of contrast with the background, so black background over white, that's contrast. The button, it has contrast as well. It's great to use warm colors for call to action buttons like red, orange, or yellow. And then you see the simplicity of it, right? We don't ask for the name, we don't ask for the last name or the city. We just care about the email. And when I click on that button, on that field, I automatically populate my email address. as a user. So that makes things a bit faster. Now, as I've mentioned, it's also good to have the right headline, right? You don't ask them to sign up to our newsletters. Tell them what they're gonna get. So here's like, get the latest news, or get the freshest news in your inbox, or summarize the news every morning. This is try to illustrate your value proposition there. The good news is, as I've mentioned earlier, the tool is powered by good generative AI. So what it's going to do is sometimes we're going to populate things for you. So we're going to use generative AI to give you some recommendations. So for that publisher, we're going to essentially populate a headline just for their site. So we know that's a site, for example, from the US, from Denver, or from New York. We're going to populate a headline that matches the content of the site, the brand, and the location they're based in. So for your site, you will see specific generative AI headlines to test on your newsletter signups. Now, if you want to go deeper, it's always good to click on that button. You will be redirected to Gemini. It's our generative AI solution at Google. This solution is great if you want to customize the prompt and get an even better personalized experience for your headline. Now, in for when it comes to newsletters, that's one thing. You need to have inline newsletter signups within your articles, on all your articles. But if you want to really grow your newsletter base, you need to check other formats. So here we recommend the anchor format. Here you will see sometimes we have those sections, so there are other examples you need to follow. So the anchor format, for example, this is what we're talking about. You need this kind of placement on your site. You need to be careful with this kind of format because it has an impact on your UX. So usually we recommend having it at the end of an article. When you start scrolling down, it appears, or after the second article or the second visit. But yeah, this format works well, and it would drive more signups to your site. And finally, the third format, the lightbox. So this kind of format is very popular, but again, you need to be very careful. Don't trigger this format when users just landed on the site. It's great to populate it after one article view, two article views, or when users is about to leave the site. So those are great experiences to get more sign up to your newsletter. So you just saw a classic, one of our use case of experience. So you remember, if I'm part of your audience development team, I will go to the overview page. I will check this module, see how I'm performing at the moment for the last 7 days, for example. I will click on the audience module. I will check my audience reports and insights, and then I will visit my recommendation to especially grow my audience. So I will try to see what I can implement on my site to improve loyalty. This is just one use case. Now there are many more use cases on the tool. I'm going to show you that. So let's take a look now at your business. So for the business part, as I've mentioned, you have two models available. You can either optimize your advertising model if you have connected your AdSense or your Google Ad Manager account, or you can see what you can do to optimize your contribution or subscription model. Let's take a look at advertising. So similar experience here. What we do is we pull from Ad Manager, Google Ad Manager or Google AdSense, your top level metrics. So we give you a good overview of what's going on in terms of impressions and revenue for your top advertising channel. So Google versus direct. So essentially your direct sales versus your third party. So all the campaigns that are running outside of Google, the outside, so your own ads, and the unfilled impressions. So this will give you a good understanding of the channel performances, the number of ad impressions they generate, and obviously the revenue generated per channel. So your top channel will be represented there. When you scroll down, you will see your top level metrics. So we usually care per device to those metrics. So the revenue generated per device, the viewability of your ads, if your ads are being seen. So there are different ways to identify viewability, but for Google, I believe it's about making sure that those ads are being displayed within the viewport for a certain number of seconds. Then you have the CTR, so if your ads are being clicked per device, and your unfilled impressions. Essentially, it's an indicator of health. If you have a lot of unfilled impressions, that means that you can potentially optimize your ad manager setup. On the right-hand side, we are bringing benchmark data. So we are comparing essentially your viewability, CTR, and unfilled impressions with the industry per device. So again, this gives you an idea if you need to potentially optimize your unfilled impressions or your CTR or the viewability on your site. Now, if you want to go deeper, what we do is we're going to give you an ad unit report. So we're going to populate your top ad units in this report, and we're going to show you essentially how much revenue they generate per device. So it's a graph that gives you the impressions in the x-axis and the revenue on the y-axis. So at the top of the graph, you will see the ad units that are generating the most revenue, and on the right, the ad units that are generating the more impressions. And you can check that per device. You can also change the criteria and check viewability, CTR, or unfilled impressions. So you can see essentially you can deep dive and understand the ads that are the most viewed, the ads that are the most clicked, and the ad units that are generating the most unfilled impressions. And that can help you optimize overall your ad unit deployment. Sometimes you will realize that you are generating a lot of ad impressions for some ad units that are not generating any revenue. So the question becomes, what do you do with those ad units? How do you optimize the implementation of those ad units? Do you want to remove those ad units? Because sometimes it's better, you will improve your page speed, or sometimes you just want to move those ad units higher on the page. That might increase your CTR or the viewability. If you scroll down, you will see a final health check where essentially we're telling you the ad sizes you should be using on your site to really capture the advertising demand. We also share more information about ad formats that you should potentially be using on your site. And finally, the setup of your ad manager. We're going to check if you are doing things correctly in ad manager. So if you are actually backfilling your ad units with AdSense or Ad Exchange when you don't have any advertising going on. If you have ad competition, so if you put campaigns into competition so that you generate the maximum revenue per ad impressions. And finally, if you have open bidding, which is important. So this is the advertising report. You will find information for both your direct advertising and your programmatic advertising on that report. I'm going to show you very quickly the type of advertising recommendation we have. So if we go back to the recommendation module, recommendation page, you see we have a lot of recommendation on that page as well. And for ad manager, we have a recommendation on how, for example, you will notice in your report that you have a very low CTR on desktop. So users are not clicking on your ads. That might be an issue with your ad sizes and ad placements. So if your ads are not well placed or you don't use the right sizes, it has an impact on the CTR. So I'm going to click on that recommendation. And here, we're going to give you some tips on where to put your ads on your site. So you need to put your ad essentially below the navigation bar. Otherwise, if it's above your logo, no one will see that unit because usually people are scrolling down on the page very quickly, so they never end up clicking on that ad unit. If you have a very long form article, it's great to have a sticky experience. So when I scroll down, this ad stays. So it's still visible, and you increase your chances that the users are clicking on those ads. Finally, in the article for long form content, it's great to have ad units within the content every few paragraphs. So if you have a long form article, ideally you need to have ad units every 300 words, 3 paragraphs, so that your monetizing users are there scrolling down the page. We are also providing some recommendation for other article formats. So if, for example, if you have a single column article format, in that case, you won't have the column on the right. So you should really focus on those ad units within the content that appears on the page. You will notice that here in particular, we are giving you some recommendation on the type of ad sizes you need to deploy on those placements. You need to make them compete against each other. You need to make sure that 728 times 90 is competing with ad units, ad sizes with 970 times 90. So by doing that, you will increase the auction pressure, get more advertising demand, and you will maximize your CPM and your ad revenue for those placements. And finally, we are talking about mobile. So essentially, this is the mobile experience. You need to make sure that you have an anchor ad format, and when you scroll down, you start populating those formats as well. Also, all those recommendations will have an impact on your CTR, on your programmatic revenue. More people will click on your ads, so you will generate more ad revenue. Now, I believe most of you have direct advertising going on, so you are selling directly to your advertisers sometimes. So here, the good news is we are providing some recommendation to grow your direct sales. So for the first time, we are able to tell you essentially these are the best practices. These are the tactics to make sure you are increasing the number of deals you have with advertisers in your community. So we're going to give you information on how essentially you get potentially more leads, how do you get more prospects to advertise on your site, how to build a media kit. So when you go to those advertisers and you try to pitch them to advertise on your site, you need to have a media kit. And here is an example of media kits that you should follow with best practices. How do you actually come up with a presentation of your advertising offers? So the media kit is that one. I'm going to slide again. And we're going to give you some recommendation on how to come up with that media kit, what needs to appear, what type of metrics, what type of format you need to promote, the fact that you need to promote sponsorship and so on. Won't spend too much time on this since we might not have advertising people in the call, but yeah, take a look at this. The cool thing also with those recommendations is we have some GNI going on. So for example, here we give you some recommendation to reach out and close more ads deals. So here you might be reaching out to specific type of advertisers in your community. So for example, you might want a plumber to advertise on your site. So you have a plumber, and the question is like, what do you do with that plumber information? So you can actually type the business type here, plumber, real estate, and so any kind of advertisers you want to reach out, and automatically the tool will be populating for your site a phone script. So what you need to tell them on the phone as an advertiser. So here, since they are a plumber, this is their script, and we're going to populate a script just for your site based on your site and who you're reaching out to. And also we are building template emails. So here's a template email that you can send to, here it's a funeral home, but we can check something else. Essentially, it's an email, again, that you can send to secure an appointment. The goal here with phone scripts and email is to secure an appointment. So after that, you pitch, you present your media kit, and you tell them that they should advertise on your site. All right, I'm going to try to finish quickly so that we answer some of your questions. For reader revenue model, to get there, the only thing you need to do is you need to plug your conversions data. So in analytics, there are some events called key events or conversion events. That was how they were called in the past. You need to track essentially your conversions first. You need to make sure that with GA4, you are tracking people who are subscribing to your site, who are contributing. So use those key events in GA4 to track conversions. When you've done So when you actually deploy those conversions in GA4, then in this report, you'll be able to plug your conversion data. You'll be able to plug your subscription conversions data, and we'll give you this kind of reports. We are not able to provide this report to you if you are not tracking in GA4 your conversions. So I want to make it clear. And once you do so, in the settings tab, you'll be able to select those conversion events or those key events. That's the way they say it in GA4. And then we're going to give you that information. So very quickly, reader revenue, a lot of information about your subscription or contribution conversion. So the conversion rate per device. You will see essentially the volume of conversions per traffic source, but also the conversion rate, right? And essentially, you will notice that you get a very good conversion rate for newsletter or web push notification. Those users are more likely to subscribe to your site or to contribute in general. If you scroll down, you will see the average profile of those converters, the type of content they read, and finally, the conversion rate analysis of your landing page. So most of the time, you will have a subscription of a page or a contribution of a page, and that page needs to be optimized. So we're going to give you information about conversion rate there. Finally, website. So this is another report you should pay attention to. So here we will tell you essentially if you are passing the core web vitals, and if you're not, what are the core web vitals you need to optimize and on which platform. So if it's on which device, so if it's mobile or desktop. And also give you a quick overview of what each core web vital is about. We will show you in page speed information with essentially what are the issues in terms of page views you are facing. SEO, a kind of diagnostic with the like issues that you might be facing, and accessibility information. And if you are passing the accessibility metrics. Again, when you look at that page, the goal here is to make sure that you have to have a look at our recommendation afterwards. So you go to the report and you check our recommendations. So our recommendation, for example, to fix your core web vitals, you will find those core web vitals there. So, for example, if you need to fix your LCP, largest contentful paint, this is where you will find information. And if you want to go deeper, you can click on that button. That will take you through PHP Insight, which is another tool that gives you more granular information. Core Web Vitals, page speed, SEO, and accessibility. Those are the things that we cover in the website page. Now, I'm going to take 2 more minutes, and then we have 10 minutes to answer your questions, hopefully. The content report. So content report, this page is more for your journalists and editorial teams. So here what we try to do is we try to provide a report that will help them make better decisions to optimize the type of content they're writing and they are following up. So the first report we have is a real-time content performance report. So when you click on that one, what we're going to do is we're going to populate for you in real time your top articles being consumed on the site. So for the last 30 minutes, these are the articles that are being consumed on the site. So number of readers, the views, the average page time, so how much time on average is being spent on those pages, and the completion rate of those articles. Essentially, if your users are scrolling down the page a lot or not. And in this report, you will see different peers. If those users are coming from Google or coming from newsletters, mostly if the page time is low or high compared to the rest of the site. Same for the completion. Do you have a good completion rate for those articles compared to the rest of the site? Now there's a cool feature on that page. It's the view full screen view. So if you click on that button, you can put that on a big screen in your newsroom. This is a cool feature. Your journalists can see in real time these articles be trending on the site, and this will be updated every 1 or 2 minutes. I forgot. So this is the first report. Now, there's another report you should pay attention to, is the popular on Google report. This report is only available if you plug your Search Console data. Here, for that report, we show you essentially only how your articles are performing on Google platforms. So we just look at Google and we tell you essentially those are the top articles that were performing well on Google. Essentially, we're going to mix all these articles going with your users going from Discover, Google News, or Google, and we're going to tell you those are the top articles. And you will see here for Google a specific pill telling you if it's popular specifically on Discover, on search, on news, etc., etc. Now, it gets more interesting when you start clicking on those articles. So, for example, here for search, if I click on this, I will see essentially, since this article was popular on search, I will see essentially the keywords that were being used to access this article on search and the number of impressions for those queries and the CTR and so on. So just by looking at this, might give your journalists some information about the keywords again being searched, and if they are writing about the right topic, potentially there's a follow-up topic to write on after this article. Maybe there are some keywords that are not directly in the article that you might want to surface more in the article title. That's a cooler module. Now that's for search. Now, if you click on articles that are popular on Discover or News, you will see this kind of information. You will see essentially the CTR on Discover compared to the rest of your site. So here we'll give you essentially a quick insight if that article is being clicked compared to other articles on Discover. And if you want to update that, you can actually access some best practices that we're going to surface. So here we have some best practices for Discover. We also have best practices for Google News if you want to optimize those specific channels. Finally, so that was the popular on Google reports. The final report is a very interesting one. That's one report that you can use with your editorial team when you want to take a step back. So you can look, instead of looking at the last 30 minutes or last 24 hours, you're looking at last 30 days. And you want to check essentially what are the top articles being consumed over the last 30 days. By default, we're going to show you based on readers or based on page views, right? Your top articles. Now, we all know that page views or number of users is not enough to look at value, right? So what we do is we're going to show you for those top articles in terms of page views or readers, essentially an audience popularity signal. So that signal is essentially we're going to populate for you all the audiences that you care about. So you need to create audiences in GA4, audiences for your millennials, for your Gen Zs, for a specific city like Delhi and so on. And we're going to populate for those specific audiences a score. So essentially, we're going to tell you here, for example, your email readers, this is an audience that we've selected. We're going to show you if that article was popular with those specific segments. And that's going to give you an interesting information about, yeah, my article is being popular with this segment. I should write more articles similar to this one because I care about this audience. I want to make them happy, and I want to create articles that they're going to consume. So yeah, check out this audience popularity signal. Potentially, you won't see any audiences in this drop-down menu. That means that you need to create audiences in GA4 so that then afterwards you actually can start checking the level of content consumption for those articles, for those audiences. So sorry, it was a bit fast. I'm trying to keep a bit of time for you for the answers. So this is NCI. I want to show you one last thing. If you want to access NCI, you have this QR code here in this presentation. You can take a picture. You can also access NCI just by clicking goo.gle/NCI-GNI. You can do that right now after this call. It's free of cost. And if you are happy with this content and this presentation, tell us if you like the content today. You can take a screenshot again of this or go to that link and answer questions about, get your feedback on this presentation. I'd love to hear if this is interesting for you all.